Why are we still using mining laws that are 150 years old? The world was so different then. We only had 37 states in the US. People still traveled in carriages. Heck, we wouldn't even hear the term greenhouse effect for another 31 years. If we want to transition away from fossil fuels and into a green future, we cannot mine for minerals the same way we did during the second industrial revolution. Otherwise, we can continue expecting irreversible damage to our planet. Yes, demand for critical minerals like lithium and cobalt to develop renewable technologies will continue to rise, but we must meet that demand in the most sustainable way possible. While the best way to meet that demand is to reduce, reuse, and recycle existing materials, some mining will have to occur to power the clean energy transition. So, what needs to be done to keep the environment safe while mining? Can we avoid water pollution and public health risks? And how do we protect indigenous communities from being exploited in the process? We update the laws. That's how. Ever since the General Mining Law of 1872 became law, mining practices have been prioritized above all other public land use. That includes caring for natural landscapes and protecting indigenous sacred sites. Under current law, mining companies can basically extract any minerals from public lands without much environmental protection or consultation from tribal communities. And once the mines become less profitable, these companies often leave behind dirty sites that pollute communities and ecosystems with toxic waste for generations. And they have no obligation under current law to clean them up. Sounds familiar? It's much like what the oil and gas industries have been doing for decades. But believe it or not, these notorious polluting industries are better regulated than mining. So how big is this issue? Well, an estimated 500,000 abandoned mining sites have been found across the country. According to the Associated Press, which examined 43 mining sites that are under federal oversight, more than 50 million gallons of contaminated wastewater streams daily out of these locations and pollutes nearby groundwater sources, rivers, and ponds. And contaminated water isn't the only issue with unregulated mining. Let's not forget that numerous indigenous communities have been forced off their own land because of mining claims. Either that, or they're forced to deal with cleaning up the mess left behind by mining companies with little compensation. Not to mention the health risks, like cancer hotspots, they and other frontline communities face from living near extraction sites and toxic pollution. As I said earlier, we can meet the majority of critical minerals demand through large-scale recycling and reuse efforts. But even if that occurs, some mining will still happen to help power the clean energy transition. But there are ways we can make mining laws more conscious, sustainable, and fair by updating this 150-year-old law to the 21st century. According to the environmental organization Earthjustice, good reform must include these 5 things. Number 1, tribal consent. Oftentimes, mining projects will happen on ancestral tribal lands that may be sacred or carry a special historic significance, and many projects proceed without the proper permission of the tribe. Reform must include land managers in the conversation and allow them to decide how the land should be used, whether it's for mining, conservation, recreation, or historic preservation. Number 2, environmental protections. As the law stands, there's no accountability for mining companies to clean up any environmental impact they have on the land they're exploiting. Reform should include strong environmental protections that prohibit them from polluting the land, air, and water in the community. When it comes to cleaning up their mess, it should be the responsibility of the mining company, not taxpayers. Number 3, fair taxpayer compensation. Speaking of taxpayers, did you know that mining companies don't have to pay a royalty on minerals mined on public lands? Good reform should have some sort of fair return for those who live near mining sites and are impacted by the pollution. After all, minerals found on public lands belong to everyone. Number 4, inspections. Much like with anything else, we need more accountability. In this case, we need federal agencies to enforce more frequent inspections and impose fines on any violations to the environment and communities living near mining sites. But we also need to hold repeated offenders accountable and deny them new mining permits. Otherwise, it's just a bad loop of exploitation. And finally, number 5, establish an abandoned mine fund. There are more than 500,000 abandoned mines across the US that could threaten our health and safety. But if we establish a fund that can help us locate, identify, and reclaim these mines, then we can reduce the risk of water pollution and other long-term environmental disasters. It's important to note that there is some work being done in Washington to address these outdated laws. Representative Raul Grijalva and Senator Martin Heinrich introduced the Clean Energy Minerals Reform Act in April 2022 with the hopes of updating the General Mining Law of 1872. This new bill would include strong protections for the environment and local communities, including respect for tribal sovereignty. It would also ensure that taxpayers are fairly compensated for minerals extracted on public lands. So just remember, advocacy works. And in order to properly tackle these issues and successfully move into a clean future, we have to stay up to date, invest in the future, and move beyond the rules of the past.